Football Manager 25 is soon approaching, and here are 5 teams that you should be looking to rebuild in FM25. So the first team on our list, and you will sense a theme here, is recently relegated Dorking Wanderers. Dorking have been on a huge run up the leagues. As you can see, they've gone from all the way from the English Southern Combination Premier Division, which is a bit of a mouthful, all the way up to the Vanamara National League. But unfortunately, they did get relegated in their first season in the National League. They are currently starting FM25 in the National League South. Your objective, if you were to take it on, would be to take them not only back up to the National League, but to take them into the EFL for the first time in the club's history. Even though the club has recently been relegated, they would be one of the season favourites to win the National League South and go back up at the first time of asking. This would be very much a look at sort of some of the players that you might be with if you were to take on the Dorking Wanderers challenge. Whilst the club are predicted to do well and return to the National League at the first time of asking, they are amongst a few professional teams that have also dropped down into National League South in recent years, one being fellow relegation candidates Boreham Wood, as well as recently relegated Torquay and Maidstone United. All these clubs are professional, whereas Dorking are still semi-professional, and they would be with pretty poor facilities as well. Basic training facilities, basic youth facilities, and a fairly small stadium as well at the Meadowbank. So quite the job on if you were to take it. A team that probably would get up to the National League without too much issue based on the current squad as of the time of recording, but could be a club that might be difficult to take up in beyond that up to the EFL. Another recently relegated team who would be great for a Football Manager 2025 rebuild would be Birmingham City. They recently got relegated from the Championship, and having spent a lot of years in the Championship middling around relegation, they were recently relegated from the Championship and do find themselves in League One for as well as long as we can see on this history. They've been a Premier League and a Championship squad, going up and down a little bit in sort of the mid-2000s, but very much in the last 10 years have been a middle table Championship side. But they have been relegated, and they would be a team that's very much predicted to do well in League One, but it would still be a challenge, and your goal would be to take them not only back up to the Championship, but back up to the Premier League for the first time since 2010-11. The squad is very good for the level and would be one of the favourites to go up in either the automatic promotion or as a league title winner. They've got a number of well-known players at the time of recording, including Ethan Learn, Bielik, Buchanan, Djukovic, Tyler Roberts. There's a lot of good players here, but your job would be not only to get them back into the Championship, but to take it one step further and get them back into the Premier League. So moving outside of Germany this time, another team that would be really good for a rebuild on FM25 would be Hertha Berlin. They are recently relegated from the Bundesliga after spending a number of years in mid-table. Whilst putting in a lot of money in the club, they have not reaped the rewards of that investment. They are a team with great facilities and a massive stadium, so they would have a lot of income, and if you were to sign young players, you would have a lot of opportunity to train them up and grow. So that might be the way to go if you do take on the Hertha Berlin challenge. Not only would your challenge be to get them back up to the Bundesliga, but would be to take them one step further and actually win the Bundesliga for the first time since the 1930s. And looking at their big squad, it might be more of an issue of getting the players down. You do have quite a large squad. I mean, if you look at the number of players that you've got at your disposal here, you've got 25 players just in the first team squad, so you definitely need to look at potentially moving a few on. The age of the players is actually quite good. You've got a lot of good young players. You've got some players who are in their prime, and only really a handful of players who are over 30. So bringing in players that are younger would definitely suit the squad that you've already got. There's a lot of well-known players in here that must be really good for the level. Players like John Joe Kenny, formerly of Everton, Mark Oliver Kempf, a Bundesliga regular. So there's definitely some good players, but I think one position you might be a little bit weak on would be some of the attacking areas. The squad does not look stacked in terms of good attackers from what I know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you'll prove me wrong. Maybe you'll take on the challenge and score 100 goals in the season in the Bundesliga too. That would be really fun to see. But how good the facilities are, how big the stadium is, and how very good the squad is. I mean, if you look at the season preview for the Bundesliga 2, they are expected to finish second just behind Cologne. So with a couple teams in here who are also recently relegated in the last few years, it is quite a difficult second division. Obviously, you've got the likes of Cologne, Hamburg, Dusseldorf, Hanover, but there is some teams further down the league who should be easy victories. So you might find yourself with a couple of the teams getting quite a lot of points this year and still not going up. There is 2 automatic spots in the Bundesliga 2 and a playoff in 3rd place. So there is opportunity to go up out of only an 18-team league, but it would definitely not be a guarantee, and it would take a decent manager to win the league given the opponents that you've got this year. So now looking at the Spanish second division, and there is a number of very good teams to choose from who would be really good for a rebuild, but the one that I'm going to highlight is Malaga. They are recently relegated from the Spanish first division in 27-18, so actually not that recent. They've been very much sitting in the second division for a number of years now, and they are a team that really should be looking to go back into the first division as quickly as possible. They are a team who, whilst they have good facilities and a decent squad and a decent stadium, they are a team that haven't been promoted back for some time, and they really should be looking to get it. Based on the season preview, from what I'm seeing, they're not one of the favourites to, so it would be a difficult job, and it might not be a one-season jobby. It might take a couple of seasons to get them back into the first division, but I think we all remember Malaga as very much a first division side, and I definitely think this is a team that you would want to see back into the first division. And not only would be a challenge to take them back into the first division of Spain, but it would be to actually win La Liga, which would be really difficult with some of the big teams that you've got in there, the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, but even taking over teams like Valencia and Villarreal is going to be a challenge just to get this team into Europe. So this would be a really good challenge. There's a number of good teams in the second division, but I think Malaga would be a really interesting one for a rebuild in FM25. And the last team I'm going to highlight for a rebuild in FM25 is Vitesse. They are recently relegated from the Eredivisie, and they have been in the Eredivisie for as long as I can remember. I mean, looking at the history, it is crazy how long they've been in the Eredivisie. Don't take the positions, by the way, to heart. These are very much... I'm using Football Manager 24 to look at this, so it's a little bit odd, but this is basically the data update, so they can only use the previous year, even though that wasn't when they were relegated, obviously. But Vitesse are very much a good team in amongst a league that really isn't that strong. A number of second young sides in Ajax, AZ, PSV and Utrecht, but other than that, your real challenges are going to be the other teams, because those 4 teams can't get promoted, so really everyone else is very beatable if you're Vitesse. They do obviously have previous history with Chelsea, and I don't believe they do have that affiliate anymore, but maybe that's something you could look to do on your own, even though the game doesn't have that affiliate anymore, and maybe they don't have that affiliate anymore in real life. Maybe it's something you could do personally, knowing that was a previous connection that existed. Your goal would be not only to take them back up into the first division of Holland for the first time of Asken, but I think that would be very much an easy first task to do, but your second task would be then to go into the Eredivisie and break that record. Obviously, it has been broken very recently, but Ajax are very much a team that's quite dominant in the league, but you've also got a lot of other good teams in this league that would be really pushing you to struggle to get into Europe. Teams like Feyenoord, AZ, even the likes of Twente can sometimes get up there, and PSV obviously of course are up there as well. So there is a number of good teams in the Eredivisie, but if you could get them back into the Eredivisie, use that momentum, maybe that could take you up. There is a rather small squad at Vitesse at the moment, just 17 players, so you've got room to bring in your own team, you've got room to bring in your own players, so it's very much a rebuild jobby. They have been relegated into the second division for the first time in absolutely ages, so it's definitely uncharted waters, but with a great facility, a decent stadium, great youth intakes. I think it would be really interesting. And you could also do something else. You don't have to necessarily do it in the normal way. You could do a youth-only rebuild. You could definitely put a spin on it that makes it a little bit different to anyone else's Vitesse rebuild. So those have been my 5 teams that I would recommend to do a rebuild with in FM25. Let me know in the comments which team you're looking to rebuild, which team you're looking to start FM25 with, which team you think would be really good for a rebuild, and which teams you think maybe the ones I've suggested would not be good for a rebuild. Let me know why. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all for more very soon.